Here are 5 things I wish I had known years ago that would have saved me a lot of time, a lot of heartache. I got this Yamaha Pacifica, and there was this weird overtone kind of noise that I couldn't figure out. Like, especially like on the E string, you'd play it and it would sound like multiple strings were playing, and I'd like try to deaden it, and I'm like, what is going on? This weird noise coming from this guitar. And I got to looking around on the internet, and I started seeing people with these funny looking things on the neck up here, and I'm like, what is that? It's called a string dampener. It turns out these strings up here between the nut and the machine heads, they can vibrate. You get this resonance that carries on up here, and even if you mute the strings, no matter how much you mute it, they can still ring. You get that sound that can come through the amp. Depending on your pickups, it might pick up that sound way up here, even if you're muting everything down here. How do you fix that? Look, got one of my wife's hair ties. Problem goes away. Problem solved. So use a hair tie or duct tape, or they make devices called string dampeners, and actually there were a lot of artists who would use this in the studio if you're especially if you're playing a solo with a lot of high gain. It can really reduce the noise to actually put it down here if you're not playing any open strings. So that's a really easy, cheap one. Anything you got lying around the house, a hair tie, or you can buy one, duct tape, whatever, string dampener, that will take care of a lot of unwanted noise. If you play a Les Paul, you may have noticed that the G string goes out of tune a lot. Funny thing about this design, take a closer look here. On your Strat design, the strings are straight. There's just a straight shot to the machine head with that design. But if you look at the Les Paul, especially on the G string and the D string here, you got a really heavy angle right there. What that does is put extra tension on this so that your string can't freely move, especially when you're bending it. And so what that means is it can get caught right there. Like if you bend it, it can get caught and it'll go out of tune. You want it to be able to move more freely, especially if you're doing a lot of bends. Really easy thing you can do is to put some pencil lead right there. So as long as it's a graphite pencil, you can put pencil lead in there, move the string, put the lead in, and that will lubricate it so that it will actually move more freely, and it takes care of that problem. Another thing I've discovered over the years is I used to think the heavier string that you would use, the more tone you would get. And while it certainly creates a different experience to play heavier strings, I really found that the whole experience of playing is a lot better with lighter strings. I actually have 7 gauge strings on this Telecaster, and I love it. I mean, your fingers can just fly over them. If you are a heavy-handed player and you really like to dig in, it can cause some of the notes to go out of tune, but that's a good thing to work on, because you will need to work on your dynamic a little more and learn how to be a little more precise with how hard you mash it down and how hard you're picking it as well. So I don't have anything heavier than 9s on any of my electrics right now, and I'm loving it. For years I would play 10s or even 11s, but lighter strings, you can bend them like crazy. It forces you to play more dynamically, and you really just have a better experience, more confidence in what you're playing. And if you feel better, then you're going to play more and you're going to be better. So that can make a big difference in your playing. Another thing, if you've ever used a straight plug, especially on a Les Paul, and you're trying to work your way around the stage, if you step on this thing, it's going to come right out. You can use an angled plug, of course, But if all you got's the straight ones, just put it in here and then loop it over your strap pin here and put it between your strap and your guitar, and now you've got a safety lock there. And so you don't have to worry about your guitar coming unplugged in the middle of a song. That one's kind of a no-brainer if you've been around a lot of people who play, but if you're just starting out, you're like, why does my guitar keep coming unplugged? So that's an easy one. Last one, I used to mess for hours with the settings on my amp, and I would have the perfect volume tuned in, and then I would change one thing and the whole thing goes out of whack again. It would drive me crazy, especially if I'm trying to have, a really good lead volume, or God forbid, I had the volume knob down when I was making that setting on my multi-effects pedal, and suddenly I have the volume up, and just the whole thing's messed up. Well, here's something I've learned that really simplifies things. If you've got a good amp, turn it up, turn your guitar down, and you get a wide range of sounds. If you got a Les Paul, you can turn your neck pickup, the volume down to like a 3, and you can turn your bridge pickup to like a 7 or a 10, and all you got to do, you'll have a clean sound. If you've got a good amp, you can ride the line between clean and dirty, and you can have a clean sound on your neck pickup, kind of a crunch sound in the middle, and you can wail and really get a good lead sound on that bridge pickup. And all you got to do is adjust those volume knobs. Now the same thing will work on a Stratocaster. If you've got a couple knobs there, really you might only have one volume knob. And so if that's the case, if you've never tried one of these that has the HSS configuration, the humbucker single coil is single coil, really you get a lot of versatility here. The in-between position, so on 2 and 4 with your 5-way toggle switch, that's going to cut the volume just a little bit, and you can get a clean sound there. You can get a crunch sound out of your neck pickup here, and then you can really wail going to your humbucker. So set your amp where you can get that dynamic range, where you can get a clean sound with just flipping a switch here. You don't have to worry with pedals. You don't have to change anything about your setup. You don't have to push a button over there. You don't have to do anything. Just switch your toggle switch, and you can get a wide range of sounds. You can have like a 3-channel amp just with your 1-channel amp if you get your settings just right. So those are a few things I wish I had known early on. I hope it helps you out. Keep playing.